The morning mist clings to the Blue Ridge Mountains as Marcus Thompson stares at the wreckage of his beloved 1967 Ford Mustang. The classic car, once a gleaming tribute to American muscle, now lies devastated in his driveway, windows shattered, paint scraped raw, and hood caved in by what appears to be repeated strikes from a heavy object. At 45, Marcus's weathered face bears the quiet dignity of a man who's seen worse, much worse, during his years as an Army Ranger. But this is personal. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time. So if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. The destruction isn't random. The Steel Wolves MC's signature is spray-painted across the Mustang's trunk, a snarling wolf's head in metallic silver. Marcus runs his fingers along the fresh paint, his mind already calculating, assessing, planning, just like old times. Linda Martinez, owner of the Riverside Diner, steps out of her restaurant across the street. "Mark, I saw them last night. Must have been around 2 a.m. Called the sheriff's office, but..." She trails off, both of them knowing how this works in Pine Valley. The Steel Wolves own these streets, or at least they think they do. "How many?" Marcus asks, his voice carrying the calm that his old Ranger team would recognize. The dangerous kind of calm that comes before a storm. 6, maybe 7. That enforcer of theirs, Switchblade, was leading them. Heard them laughing about teaching the quiet guy with the fancy car a lesson. Linda's face shows genuine concern. She's known Marcus since he moved to Pine Valley 3 years ago, seeking peace after his last deployment. He's been nothing but kind to everyone, keeping to himself, occasionally helping local vets with their troubles. Marcus nods, taking in the information. The Steel Wolves have been pushing their weight around Pine Valley for years. Local law enforcement, led by Sheriff Steve Anderson, seems powerless or unwilling to stop them. But they've never bothered Marcus before, probably because he rarely leaves his modest house except to help at the Valley Veterans Association or get coffee at Linda's Diner. His phone buzzes. Danny Parker, his friend from the auto shop. "Mark, heard about the car. Listen, brother, I know what you're thinking, but these guys, they're connected. It's not just a local MC anymore. They've got reach." Marcus checks his watch, 7:15 a.m. "Meet me at Sullivan's Auto Shop in 20. Bring whatever you know about the Steel Wolves operations." He can hear Danny's hesitation through the phone. "Man, I was afraid you'd say that. Just be careful. Things around here aren't what they seem. The Wolves, they're into something bigger than just running bikes and causing trouble." As Marcus ends the call, he notices Deputy Bill Rogers slowly driving by, pretending not to see the vandalized Mustang. The deputy's deliberate ignorance confirms what Marcus has suspected for months. Local law enforcement isn't just ineffective, they're compromised. Inside his garage, Marcus moves aside some boxes, revealing a hidden gun safe. He hasn't opened it since moving to Pine Valley, hoping to leave that life behind. But as he enters the combination, memories flood back. Midnight operations in hostile territory, the weight of responsibility for his team, the code they lived by. The Steel Wolves made a mistake. They saw a quiet veteran with a nice car and thought they found an easy target. They didn't know they were poking a sleeping lion. His phone buzzes again. Amy Chen from the Pine Valley Tribune. "Mr. Thompson, I'm doing a story on the recent spike in vandalism cases. Would you be willing to comment on what happened to your car?" "Not now, Amy," Marcus replies, but then pauses. "Actually, keep digging into those vandalism cases. How many involved the Steel Wolves?" "Officially, none. Unofficially, all of them. But here's the weird part. They're targeting specific people. A retired judge, a bank manager, a real estate developer. It's like they're following a list." Marcus processes this information as he checks his gear. If Amy's right, this isn't random violence. The Steel Wolves aren't just flexing their power. They're sending messages, but who's giving the orders? A motorcycle rumbles past his house. Jake Switchblade Cooper doing his morning reconnaissance, making sure Marcus got the message. What he doesn't realize is that he's not dealing with some helpless civilian. Marcus Thompson spent 15 years in the 75th Ranger Regiment, leading missions that never made the headlines, solving problems that officially didn't exist. The Mustang wasn't just a car. It was a gift from his fallen teammate, restored together during Marcus's recovery. After their last mission, the Steel Wolves didn't just destroy property, they desecrated a memorial. As Marcus shoulders his go-bag and heads towards Sullivan's auto shop, he's not seeking revenge. He's launching an operation, one that will uncover whatever rot lies beneath Pine Valley's surface. In the distance, more motorcycles roar to life. The Steel Wolves are gathering at their clubhouse, the Iron Horse, probably celebrating their night's work. They have no idea that their simple act of vandalism has set something in motion, something that will expose secrets they've killed to protect. Marcus makes one more call to Kevin "Doc" Williams, another veteran who runs a local clinic. "Doc, might need your services soon, like the old days." "Already heard about the car," Doc replies. "Supply room stocked, no questions asked." "But Mark, there's something else you should know. The Wolves, they've been asking questions about you, specifically about your military record." Marcus's jaw tightens. If they're looking into his background now, it means this wasn't as random as it seemed. Someone pointed them at him, someone who might know what he's capable of. The question is, why? "Keep your eyes open, Doc. I have a feeling this is just the beginning." As Marcus drives his backup vehicle towards Sullivan's auto shop, he doesn't notice the traffic cameras tracking his movement or the encrypted message being sent from the Pine Valley Sheriff's Department to an unknown recipient. Target activated. Proceeding as planned. If this story touches you, make sure to subscribe. We've prepared something special for tomorrow that you won't want to miss. Sullivan's auto shop sits at the edge of Pine Valley, its weathered sign creaking in the morning breeze. Danny Parker waits in the customer lot, nervously checking his surroundings. The former Marine Corps mechanic has already opened the shop's private garage bay, away from prying eyes. "They did a number on her," Danny says as Marcus pulls up, "but that's not why I called you here." He leads Marcus inside, past the regular service area to his office. The walls are covered with photographs, decades of Pine Valley history, including several showing the Steel Wolves at various town events. But Marcus's attention is drawn to Danny's computer screen. "Been keeping track of their movements," Danny explains, pulling up a series of mapped locations. "At first, I thought they were just making regular runs. Drugs, maybe some weapons, standard MC stuff. But look at this pattern." The map shows a series of points forming a rough circle around Pine Valley, each marked with dates and times. "Properties," Marcus observes. "They're targeting specific properties." Exactly. Every act of vandalism, every accident, every case of arson in the last 6 months. They all involve properties that were later bought up by shell companies. Danny pulls out a stack of property records. Different company names, but they all trace back to one holding corporation, Ironclad Investments. Marcus studies the pattern, his military training kicking in. They're clearing territory, but for what? A motorcycle rumbles past the shop, another Steel Wolves patrol. Danny quickly closes the blinds. "That's not all. 2 nights ago, I was working late, had the police scanner on. Heard something weird. Encrypted communications, not normal police channels. Then this morning, I find someone's been in my computer system." Marcus's phone vibrates. A text from Amy Chen. "Need to meet. Found connection between Steel Wolves and City Hall. Not safe to talk on phone." "They're watching us now," Danny says, noticing Marcus checking his phone. "Probably have been since you moved here. The question is, why you? Why now? Before Marcus can respond, his phone rings. Linda from the diner. Mark, you need to get back here. Switchblade and his boys just showed up. They're asking questions about you, showing people some kind of photos. Marcus moves to the window, carefully checking the street. 2 more Steel Wolves bikes cruise past, their riders obviously scanning the area. They're herding us, he realizes. Using standard search and containment tactics, these aren't just bikers. Danny's face pales. Military training? Or law enforcement? Marcus checks his watch. Call Doc. Tell him to prep that supply room. Then get Amy Chen somewhere safe. Don't use your phone. They're probably monitoring communications. What about you? I'm going to have a chat with our friends at the diner. Marcus moves to leave, but Danny grabs his arm. There's something else you should see first. Danny pulls up another file on his computer. Service records. Been doing maintenance on their bikes for years. Last month I noticed something strange. New modifications, military-grade communications gear. Whoever these guys are working for, they've got serious backing. Through the shop's security cameras, they watch more Steel Wolves gathering at intersections throughout Pine Valley.
Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story.
Their movements are too coordinated, too precise for simple intimidation. They're setting up a tactical grid. Marcus's phone buzzes again, an unknown number. The text contains only an image, a satellite photo of his old ranger team in Afghanistan. Faces clearly visible. A warning or something else? They're not just looking into your background, Danny says, looking over Marcus's shoulder. They knew exactly who you were before they hit your car. This whole thing, it's an operation. The shop's landline rings, making both men freeze. Danny answers on speaker. Parker Auto, Danny says cautiously. Is Marcus Thompson there? The voice is professional, official sounding. This is Agent Jason Hayes, FBI. We need to discuss the situation in Pine Valley. Marcus signals Danny to keep them talking while he runs a quick trace on his phone. The call's routing through multiple locations, definitely not standard FBI protocol. I'm looking at incident reports involving the Steel Wolves MC, the caller continues. Quite a pattern emerging. You should both be very careful about what you do next. Some situations are better left alone. Is that a threat, Agent Hayes? Marcus asks. Let's call it professional courtesy. You had an outstanding record in the Rangers, Mr. Thompson. Would be a shame to tarnish that now. The call ends. Danny looks at Marcus, worry evident on his face. That wasn't really FBI, was it? No, but they wanted us to think it was. Marcus checks the trace results. The call bounced through 3 different states before disappearing into an encrypted network. They're trying to contain the situation, which means there's something here they don't want us to find. Outside, more motorcycles gather. The Steel Wolves are making their presence known, but their usual chaotic energy is replaced by something more disciplined. Through the shop's cameras, Marcus watches their formation. Their positions cover all major routes through town. Look familiar? Danny asks. Yeah, standard urban containment protocol. We used similar tactics overseas. Marcus pulls up the property map again. The vandalism, the threats, the surveillance, it's all theater. They're creating a cover story, making this look like typical MC violence while they... He stops, noticing something in the pattern of acquired properties. While they what? While they secure the area for something bigger. Marcus starts marking additional points on the map. These properties, they're forcing people to sell. They all connect to the old mining network under Pine Valley. Someone's buying up access points to every major tunnel in the region. Danny's phone chimes. A news alert from the Pine Valley Tribune. Amy Chen's latest article about local corruption has been retracted, replaced with an apology for unsubstantiated claims. They're moving faster now, Marcus says. Whatever they're planning, our investigation is forcing their timeline. A final text comes through from Linda, Steel Wolves Leaving Diner, said to tell you they know about Operation Ghost Walker, said you'd understand. Marcus's face hardens. Ghost Walker was classified, a mission that officially never happened. If the Steel Wolves know about it, they're connected to something much higher than local law enforcement. Danny, get everything you've found to Doc's clinic. Use the back roads. I'm going to have a word with Sheriff Anderson. That's crazy. The department's probably compromised. Exactly. And Anderson's going to tell me why, one way or another. Marcus checks his gear one last time. The Steel Wolves wanted to wake up a ranger? Fine. Let's show them what that really means. As Marcus moves to leave, Danny calls after him. What was Operation Ghostwalker? If they know about it, then none of this is about buying property or running drugs. Marcus pauses at the door. It's about what's hidden under Pine Valley, something we found overseas, something that was supposed to stay buried. The morning sun hangs higher now, burning away the mountain mist. Throughout Pine Valley, Steel Wolves members maintain their positions, watching, waiting. But they've made a crucial mistake. They thought they were activating an asset, using Marcus's background, to further their operation. Instead, they've revealed their hand to the one person trained to stop them. The real question is, how many people will get hurt before this is over? Before we continue with this incredible story, make sure you're subscribed to catch all our upcoming content. Your support means everything to us. Now, back to our story. The Pine Valley Sheriff's Department sits in a renovated colonial building, its white columns and American flag projecting authority and tradition. But Marcus Thompson knows appearances can be deceiving. From his concealed position across the street, he watches the unusual activity around the building. Far too many Steel Wolves members casually lingering nearby for it to be coincidence. His earpiece crackles. Danny's voice coming through the old military-grade radio they'd retrieved from Marcus's gear. Doc's got the files secured. Amy Chen made it here too. She's got something big, Mark. Records of payments from Ironclad Investments to the Sheriff's Department going back 3 years. Any sign you were followed? Negative. Use the old logging trails like you said. But there's more activity. On the police scanner, lots of chatter about securing the site. Whatever's going on, it's happening soon. Marcus spots Sheriff Steve Anderson through his binoculars, watching the older man pace in his office. The sheriff's body language screams anxiety, constantly checking his phone, adjusting his collar, glancing out windows. This isn't the same confident lawman who welcomed Marcus to Pine Valley 3 years ago. Sheriff Anderson, Marcus says into his phone when the call connects. We need to talk about Operation Ghostwalker. A long pause. My office, 10 minutes. Come in through booking, less eyes. And the Steel Wolves watching your building? They won't bother you, not yet. Anderson hangs up. Marcus circles the building, noting security camera positions. The Steel Wolves members track his movement, but make no aggressive moves. Their discipline is eerily professional, more like private military contractors than outlaw bikers. Inside, Deputy Bill Rogers meets him at booking. Sheriff's waiting, and Thompson, sorry about your car. Some things are bigger than personal property. The sheriff's office is a study in organized chaos. Maps and files scattered across every surface, multiple phones on the desk. Anderson looks older than Marcus remembers, the weight of whatever's happening clearly taking its toll. Ghostwalker wasn't supposed to follow us home, Anderson says without preamble. What your team found in those caves, it was supposed to stay buried in Afghanistan. We never found what they sent us in for, Marcus counters. Just empty caves and dead ends. Anderson laughs bitterly. That's what they told you, but you took photos, didn't you? Documented everything like good little soldiers. Those cave formations, the unusual mineral deposits, they weren't natural. And now we've found the same things here, under Pine Valley. Marcus's radio crackles again, Danny's voice urgent. Mark, Amy's connected more dots. Ironclad Investments, they're a front for Vertex Dynamics, same company that handled logistics for Ghostwalker, Marcus finishes. It's not just similar formations, they're the same people. Anderson nods grimly. 6 months ago, a geological survey team found something in the old mines. Within weeks, Vertex had bought the mining rights. Then the Steel Wolves showed up, security contractors with military backgrounds using the MC as cover. The property, acquisitions, the intimidation, securing access points to the cave network. They're looking for something specific, something your team almost found overseas. Anderson pulls out a thick file. These caves, they're not random. They're manufactured, ancient, and whatever made them, they think it's still down there. A commotion erupts outside, motorcycles roaring to life. Through the window, Marcus watches Steel Wolves members mobilizing, responding to some unseen signal. They've found something, Anderson says, fear creeping into his voice. God help us, they've actually found something. Marcus's phone vibrates, a text from Linda. Large trucks heading to the old mining complex. Military escorts. They're moving fast. How long have you been working with them? Marcus asks Anderson. They didn't give me a choice. Showed up with evidence of old cases, things that could ruin careers, end lives. Said cooperation was the only option. Anderson's hand moves toward his desk drawer. But I've been documenting everything. Dead drops around town, insurance in case. The office door bursts open. Jake Switchblade Cooper enters, flanked by 2 other Steel Wolves members. But they're different now. Tactical gear visible under their leather cuts, professional weapons instead of street hardware. Time's up, Switchblade announces. Site's been compromised. Protocol 7 is in effect. Anderson's face goes pale. No, you can't. There are families here, children. Protocol 7, Switchblade repeats firmly. Mr. Thompson, our employer would like to speak with you. Your expertise might be valuable, given your experience. With similar sites, Marcus notes their positions, angles, equipment. These aren't bikers playing soldier, they're operators using an MC as cover. And if I decline, then you can join the sheriff in containment. Can't have anyone warning the town, not with what's about to happen. Marcus's radio crackles again, Doc's voice this time. Multiple choppers inbound from the east, military grade, running dark. Last chance, Thompson, Switchblade says. You saw what was in those caves overseas. You know what we're dealing with. Help us contain it, or... Marcus moves before he finishes the sentence. Years of combat training take over as he launches into action, creating chaos in the confined space. Anderson drops behind his desk. As Marcus engages the Steel Wolves operators, his movements precise and lethal. Switchblade is good, clearly Special Forces trained, but Marcus is better. The fight is brief, but brutal. When it ends, 3 operators are down, and Marcus has Switchblade's own knife pressed against his throat. Protocol 7, Marcus demands. What are you containing? You don't understand, Switchblade gasps. What's down there? It's waking up. The vibrations from the mining, the excavation. We're not trying to find it anymore. We're trying to stop it from finding us. Anderson emerges from behind his desk, clutching a hard drive. Everything's here. The surveys, the real reason for Ghostwalker, what they found in other sites globally. Take it to... Gunshots shatter the window. Anderson jerks, red blooming across his chest. Outside, a Steel Wolves sniper adjusts his aim as Marcus drags the sheriff to cover. Pine Valley was supposed to be my retirement, Anderson coughs, pressing the hard drive into Marcus's hand. Quiet mountain town, simple problems. Then they found the caves, found out they connected to what? But Anderson's eyes are vacant now, his final secrets dying with him. Through the broken window, Marcus hears more motorcycles approaching, helicopters thundering overhead. Whatever Protocol 7 is, it's already starting. His radio comes to life, Danny's voice tight with urgency. "Mark, Amy found more files. Vertex has been researching these cave networks for decades. Pine Valley isn't the first town they've contained. We need to warn people. Need to..." Static cuts him. Offers all communications in Pine Valley suddenly go dark. In the distance, emergency sirens begin to wail. The operation to destroy Marcus's truck wasn't random intimidation. It wasn't even about him. It was a test, checking his reactions, his capabilities. Now he understands. They wanted to wake up a ranger because they need someone who's seen what lies in those caves. But they don't know everything about Ghostwalker. They don't know what really happened in those Afghan caves, what Marcus's team actually found. As Pine Valley descends into chaos around him, Marcus checks his gear and grips Anderson's hard drive. Time to remind these contractors why Rangers lead the way, even into hell itself. If you're enjoying this intense story, make sure to subscribe. We put a lot of effort into bringing you the best content possible. Now, let's continue with our story. The chaos in Pine Valley escalates as Marcus Thompson navigates the back alleys behind the sheriff's department. Emergency sirens continue their relentless wail, but there's something off about their pattern. They're not warning people, they're creating confusion. Above, military helicopters circle in tight formation, their searchlights sweeping the streets. His radio crackles intermittently through the electronic interference. "Mark, Doc's clinic. They're here." Danny's voice fades in and out. Some kind of evacuation orders, not letting people leave. Marcus checks Anderson's hard drive, secured in his tactical vest. Whatever secrets it contains about Pine Valley's caves and Operation Ghostwalker, the Steel Wolves are willing to kill to keep them hidden. More importantly, they're willing to lock down an entire town. A convoy of unmarked black SUVs speeds past his position, heading toward the old mining complex. Through his tactical scope, Marcus spots men in hazmat suits in the back of the vehicles. This isn't just a containment operation. They're preparing for something specific. His phone vibrates, a message from an encrypted number. "You should have stayed retired, Marcus. Some doors aren't meant to be opened. Some things should stay buried." Attached is a photo that makes his blood run cold. His old ranger team in Afghanistan, standing at the cave entrance where they lost Johnson and Martinez. But this isn't from their mission files. This photo was taken from someone else's position, someone watching them. "Mark!" Linda's voice cuts through his thoughts as she runs toward him from the dinner. "They're setting up checkpoints, turning people back, saying there's been a chemical spill at the mine, but I saw what they're bringing in. That's not hazmat equipment, that's military tech," Marcus finishes. "They're not containing a spill. They're preparing for an extraction." He guides Linda into a sheltered doorway as another helicopter passes overhead. "What else have you seen?" The Steel Wolves. They're different now, moving in tactical formations, running secure communications. And that new group that arrived with them. She hesitates. "They're calling themselves Vertex Security, but they're carrying hardware I haven't seen since my days in Army intelligence." Marcus processes this new information. Linda had never mentioned military intelligence background before, but right now he needs all the allies he can get. His radio sparks to life, clearer this time. "Mark, it's Amy. You need to see what's on these files. The caves, they're not natural formations. The mineral deposits, the geometric patterns, they're structures. Someone, something, built them. And Pine Valley sits at the center of the network. How long until you can upload the files? That's the problem. All external communications are being jammed. Internet, phones, everything. We're in a complete blackout bubble. The only signals getting through are on their encrypted channels. An explosion rocks the night, the direction of Doc's clinic. Marcus's tactical instincts kick in as he plots a route through the increasingly militarized streets. Amy, get everyone into Doc's basement. Use the medical tunnel. It connects to the old prohibition routes under the city. Already on it. But Mark, there's something else. These files mention other sites, other towns, places that disappeared after similar discoveries. Chemical spills, natural disasters, sinkholes, all covers for whatever they're really doing. The sound of boots on pavement forces Marcus and Linda into the shadows. A steel wolves patrol passes, but their formation is pure special forces. Through his scope, Marcus spots Vertex logos on their tactical gear, partially hidden under the MC cuts. They're clearing the grid, Linda whispers, her intelligence training showing. Standard urban control protocol, setting up sectors, controlling movement. In a few hours, they'll own every street in Pine Valley. Marcus's phone vibrates again. Another message from the encrypted number. Last chance, Thompson. Your expertise could be valuable. Don't force us to classify you as a containment risk. They're scared, Linda observes. Whatever's down there, it's got them spooked enough to lock down an entire town. What did you really find in Afghanistan? Before Marcus can answer, his radio picks up a transmission on the encrypted channels. Danny managed to crack their frequency. Asset teams in position. Sonic mapping reveals cavity expansion in sectors 7 through 12. It's growing faster than projected. Initiate Phase 2 containment. The sirens suddenly stop, leaving an eerie silence. Then a new sound begins, a deep, rhythmic vibration. That seems to come from the ground itself. In the distance, dogs start howling. That frequency. Linda's face shows recognition. They used something similar in black sites. Subsonic crowd control. But this is different. It's not controlling, it's communicating, Marcus finishes. The vibration reminds him of what they felt in those Afghan caves, right before they lost Johnson and Martinez. Right before they found the inscriptions that weren't supposed to exist. A new convoy approaches. Heavy military trucks carrying what looks like drilling equipment, but Marcus recognizes the modifications. Those aren't drills, they're sonic resonators, same tech we used in Ghostwalker. They're not trying to dig into the caves. They're trying to seal something in, Linda concludes. But sealing what? Marcus makes a decision. Danny, you copy? Get everyone through the tunnel system to Rally Point Bravo. Linda and I are heading to the mining complex. Whatever's down there, whatever they're trying to contain, it's connected to what killed my team in Afghanistan. Mark. Danny's voice is hesitant. Amy found more files. Those caves, they're older than human civilization, and they're not dormant. The mineral deposits, the geometric patterns, they're growing, spreading, like some kind of living architecture. Linda breathes. My God, that's what intelligence was tracking. Pattern similarities in ancient sites worldwide. Structures that shouldn't exist, that seem to respond to certain frequencies. The vibrations intensify as more resonators power up around Pine Valley. Marcus feels it in his bones, the same sensation that haunted his dreams after Afghanistan. The caves aren't just tunnels or shelters, they're something else, something aware. His tactical radio, still linked to the encrypted channels, crackles. All teams, be advised. Seismic activity increasing in all sectors. Cavity expansion now. Critical. Asset Charlie 1 reports movement in the lower chambers. Repeat, we have movement. The night sky suddenly fills with flares as Vertex teams begin full military operations. They're dropping all pretense now, racing against whatever's stirring beneath Pine Valley. The Steel Wolves were never just an MC, they were forward observers. Setting up the grid for this moment. We need to move, Marcus says, checking his weapons. Whatever's in those files, Anderson died to protect. Whatever's down in those caves, it's the key to everything, and we're running out of time. Linda nods, her intelligence training evident in her quick gear check. Just like old times? No, Marcus replies, remembering Johnson and Martinez's screams echoing through ancient tunnels. This time, we know what we're walking into. This time, we finish what Ghost Walker started. Above them, more helicopters converge on Pine Valley as the vibrations from the resonators build towards some terrible crescendo. The real operation is just beginning, and Marcus knows one thing for certain. His destroyed truck wasn't random, vandalism. It was a trigger, carefully planned to draw him into something bigger, something that's been waiting in the dark, growing stronger, getting ready to emerge. The question is, did they wake him up to help stop it, or to help set it free? If this story has captured your attention, don't forget to subscribe to catch more incredible content like this. Your support keeps us going. Now let's continue with our story. The old mining complex looms against the night sky. It's abandoned, structures now swarming with Vertex security teams. Marcus and Linda observe from the tree line, watching as more military-grade equipment arrives. The sonic resonators have been positioned in a precise pattern around the main shaft, their deep vibrations making the ground tremble beneath their feet. 4 sniper positions, motion sensors on all approaches, and those aren't standard night vision goggles they're wearing, Linda whispers, her military intelligence training evident in her assessment. That's next-gen thermal imaging. They're not just watching for people. They're scanning for heat signatures coming from below, Marcus finishes, remembering similar equipment from Ghost Walker. In Afghanistan, regular thermal couldn't penetrate the cave systems, but these new sensors. His radio crackles, Amy's voice cutting through the interference. Mark, we've decrypted more files from Anderson's drive. You need to hear this. The caves aren't just spreading, they're changing. The mineral composition is shifting, becoming more complex, like it's adapting. A new convoy arrives at the complex, unmarked white vans with satellite equipment. Men in civilian clothes, but military-bearing emerge, carrying cases Marcus recognizes from his final mission. Seismic monitoring gear, he tells Linda. Same type we used to track the growth patterns in Afghanistan. Growth patterns? Linda's voice shows concern. You never said anything about... Because it wasn't in our official briefing. Marcus explains, checking his tactical scope. We were told we were looking for insurgent bunker systems, but the caves, they were expanding, creating new tunnels, new chambers, moving like they were alive, a voice says behind them. They spin to find Jake Switchblade Cooper, his tactical gear now showing clear Vertex insignias, just like they're doing here. His hands are raised, showing he's unarmed. We need to talk, Thompson, about what really happened in those caves. Marcus keeps his weapon trained on Switchblade. You destroyed my car to get my attention. Could have just asked. Had to be sure you'd react the way we predicted. Had to know if Afghanistan changed you like it changed the others. Switchblade's eyes show a haunted look Marcus recognizes, the same look Johnson had before he walked into that final chamber. Your team wasn't the first to find these structures. They're everywhere, underneath cities, mountains, deserts. Most are dormant, but some are waking up. The sonic resonator's frequency suddenly shifts, causing all 3 of them to wince. Through his scope, Marcus watches Vertex teams responding to some unseen alert, moving with increased urgency. It's starting, Switchblade says grimly. The frequencies we're using to contain it. They're having the opposite effect, just like they did with your team. Marcus's radio comes alive, Danny's voice urgent. Mark, Amy found video files, security footage from Afghanistan right after your team. Oh God, you need to see this. The caves, they're not just growing, they're Static cuts him off as a new wave of electronic interference sweeps the area. The mining complex's floodlights flicker, and for a moment, Marcus sees something that makes his blood run cold. Geometric patterns in the rock face, pulsing with a faint luminescence. Your team never told anyone what really happened to Johnson and Martinez, did they? Switchblade asks. About how they changed after touching the mineral deposits? About what they started building? Linda's tactical radio picks up encrypted chatter. All teams be advised. Seismic activity reaching critical levels. Biosignature. Detection in sectors 3 through 7. Prepare for emergence protocols. You're not trying to keep something in, Marcus realizes. You're trying to keep it contained until it's ready, until it's strong enough to finish what it started millennia ago, a new voice says. Ray Hammer Wilson, the Steel Wolves. President steps from the shadows, but his biker appearance is gone. He wears the uniform of a Vertex senior operative, decorated with insignias Marcus has never seen before. These cave systems, these living structures, they're not natural formations. They're more like incubators. The ground trembles. More violently now. Through gaps in the trees, Marcus spots more geometric patterns emerging on rock surfaces, spreading like frost across glass. His tactical scope shows heat signatures deep underground, moving in ways that defy explanation. Ghostwalker wasn't about finding insurgent bunkers, Hammer continues. It was about understanding these structures, learning their patterns. Your team got closer than anyone ever had. And now it's happening here. Pine Valley sits on a convergence point, just like that site in Afghanistan. The frequencies, the mineral compositions, everything's perfect. Perfect for what? Linda demands, but Marcus already knows. He remembers Johnson's last words before the caves took him about how the patterns weren't just designs, they were instructions. A blueprint for something waiting to be built. His phone vibrates, one last message from the encrypted number. The resonators aren't for containment, Marcus. They're for communication. We had to wake you up because you're the only one who's heard their message before. The only one who walked away unchanged. The mining complex's lights flicker again, longer this time. In the darkness, the geometric patterns on the rocks glow brighter, forming configurations that hurt to look at directly. Marcus feels something he hasn't felt since Afghanistan, a pressure in his mind, like something vast trying to make contact. Your team wasn't the first to find these sites, Hammer explains, but they were the first to understand what they were for. These aren't just caves or tunnels, they're receivers waiting for the right signal. And now, a new sound cuts through the night, not the resonator's deep vibration, but something higher, almost crystalline. The geometric patterns pulse in rhythm with it, spreading faster now, covering more surface area. They're not growing, Marcus says, remembering Johnson's final notes. They're transforming, converting matter into what? They need, Switchblade finishes. What they've always needed. Ghostwalker proved it could be done. Now Pine Valley is the final test site. Marcus's radio catches one last transmission from Amy. Mark, the files. These structures, they're not random. They're building something. All over the world, they're building. The transmission cuts off as every light in Pine Valley goes dark. In the sudden silence, Marcus hears it. The same crystalline resonance that haunted his dreams after Afghanistan. But now it's stronger, clearer, like it's finally found its true frequency. And in the darkness, the geometric patterns continue to spread, transforming everything they touch, preparing Pine Valley for whatever's about to emerge from those ancient living caves. The destroyed truck that started this, it wasn't just about getting Marcus's attention. It was about putting him exactly where he needed to be when the real operation began. Because some things can't be contained or controlled. Some things can. only be witnessed. And as the patterns reach toward Pine Valley, glowing with that impossible light, Marcus realizes the truth. Operation Ghostwalker never ended. It just found a new testing ground. This story took countless hours to create. So if you're enjoying it, please subscribe to our channel. It really helps us continue bringing you content like this. Now back to our story. The darkness over Pine Valley is complete now, save for the pulsing geometric patterns spreading across rock surfaces. Even the military-grade floodlights at the mining complex have failed, leaving only the eerie luminescence of whatever's emerging from below. 3 minutes until backup generators engage, Hammer announces, checking a specialized tablet. The screen shows a 3-dimensional map of Pine Valley's underground, lit up with moving heat signatures that shouldn't exist at that depth. When they do, you need to be in position, Thompson. You're the only one who's communicated with them before. I never communicated with anything, Marcus counters, keeping his weapon ready. Johnson did, right before he... The memory of his teammates' transformation still haunts him, how the geometric patterns had spread across Johnson's skin like luminous tattoos, how his eyes had taken on that crystalline quality. Linda's military intelligence training kicks in as she studies the patterns. These formations, they're not random, they're creating some kind of network, like a circuit board carved in stone. Or a nervous system. Amy's voice crackles through Marcus's radio, the signal somehow cutting through the interference. The files from Anderson's drive, they show similar patterns at sites worldwide. They're all connected, all growing towards some kind of convergence. The ground trembles more violently now. Through his tactical scope, Marcus watches Vertex. Teams scrambling to adjust the sonic resonators. The crystalline tone shifts frequency, and for a moment he feels that familiar pressure in his mind, like something vast, trying to make itself understood. Your team wasn't just exploring those caves in Afghanistan, Switchblade explains, his professional demeanor cracking slightly. You were chosen. The patterns, the frequencies, they were testing us, looking for compatible subjects. Johnson and Martinez, they were just the first to accept the change. Danny's voice cuts through the radio static. Mark, we've found more footage from Ghostwalker. The transformations weren't random. The patterns, they're like a programming language, rewriting human biology on a molecular level. The backup generators roar to life, flooding the mining complex with harsh light. But the illumination only makes the geometric patterns more pronounced. Their glow now taking on a fractal quality that hurts to look at directly. Time to choose, Thompson, Hammer says, raising his tablet. The resonators are ready. We can either contain this emergence or guide it. Help them find more compatible subjects. His eyes show the same crystalline sheen that Marcus remembers from Johnson. They're not hostile, you know. They just need the right conditions to complete their work. Their work? Linda demands. What exactly are these things trying to build? A bridge, Marcus answers, the realization hitting him as the pressure in his mind intensifies. Johnson's last words. He said they were building a bridge between their reality and ours, using human biology as a template. The geometric patterns pulse faster now, spreading across the ground like circuits of living light. Through his scope, Marcus spots similar patterns beginning to appear on the skin of several Vertex operators near the cave entrance. Just like Afghanistan, Switchblade observes, the compatible ones change first, become conduits. He rolls up his sleeve, revealing patterns already forming on his arm. Can you feel it, Thompson? The clarity they offer? The purpose? Marcus's radio crackles again. Amy's voice, urgent. Mark, these files. The sites worldwide. They're not just growing, they're synchronizing. Pine Valley's emergence is triggering others. It's like they're all waiting for a signal. A new sound fills the air. Not the resonator's artificial frequency, but something deeper, more organic. The geometric patterns respond, their light intensifying as they spread faster across surfaces, across skin. The truck wasn't random, Marcus realizes, looking at Hammer. You needed me here because I resisted the change in Afghanistan. Because I might be able to resist it again. Someone has to remain unaltered, Hammer confirms. The patterns now, clearly visible on his neck. Someone has to document the emergence, help others understand. That's what Anderson was supposed to do before he developed doubts. Linda's tactical radio picks up fragmented transmissions, multiple emergencies detected. Patterns spreading exponentially. Subjects showing rapid transformation, unable to maintain containment. The mining complex's floodlights flicker again as the geometric patterns reach their bases. Where the light touches the patterns, it seems to bend, creating impossible shadows that move in ways that defy physics. They're not just changing the rock, Linda observes, her voice tight. They're changing the fundamental properties of matter itself, rewriting the basic rules of... Her words cut off as the ground heaves violently. Through newly formed cracks, Marcus sees deeper patterns pulsing with that same crystalline light, an entire network of living circuits spreading beneath Pine Valley. Final phase beginning, Hammer announces, consulting his tablet. The patterns on his skin now glow with the same intensity as those on the rocks. Thompson, this is your last chance. Help us guide the emergence, or what? Marcus challenges, but he knows the answer. He saw it in Afghanistan, how those who resisted the change were simply removed from the equation. Their bodies broken down and repurposed, becoming part of the growing pattern. His radio comes to life one last time, Danny's voice breaking through increasing interference. Mark, Amy's found something in the oldest files. These patterns, this bridge they're building. It's not the first time. There are records, myths from every culture about times when the world changed, when reality itself was rewritten by something that came from below. The crystalline resonance reaches a new pitch as more vertex operators begin showing signs of transformation. Through his scope, Marcus watches the patterns spread across their skin, their movements becoming increasingly synchronized, like parts of a larger organism. They're not invading, Switchblade says, his voice taking on that same resonant quality Marcus remembers from Johnson. They're evolving us, preparing us for what comes next, what has always been coming. The ground splits open near the mine entrance, revealing chambers below that glow with impossible light. The patterns flow like liquid now, covering everything. They touch, transforming matter into something else, something that bridges the gap between organic and crystalline, between this reality and another. Marcus feels the pressure in his mind building to a crescendo as Pine Valley trembles on the edge of profound change. His destroyed truck, the Steel Wolves facade, Operation Ghostwalker. It was all preparation for this moment, when humanity would face a choice between resistance and transformation. And as the patterns reach toward him, glowing with that otherworldly light, Marcus must decide, will he document the emergence of something that could rewrite the very nature of reality? Or will he fight to maintain the world as he knows it, even if that means destroying Pine Valley to contain what's awakening beneath it? The choice, like the change itself, seems inevitable. But then again, that's what they thought in Afghanistan. Before Marcus proved that some things can resist even the most fundamental transformations. The real question is, at what cost? If you're finding this story intense, make sure to hit subscribe. We put tremendous effort into crafting these narratives, and your support means everything. Now, let's continue our story. Marcus Thompson has faced impossible decisions before, but none quite like this. The crystalline patterns pulse around him, their light casting impossible shadows as more vertex operators succumb to the transformation. Through his tactical scope, he watches the changes accelerate, human flesh taking on properties that shouldn't exist in nature. "The resonators are ready," Hammer announces, his voice now carrying that same harmonic quality that haunted Marcus's dreams after Afghanistan. The patterns on his skin pulse in sync with those spreading across the ground. One signal will guide the emergence. Another will attempt to contain it. The choice is yours, Thompson. Linda's voice cuts through Marcus's radio, barely audible through growing interference. "Mark, we've got movement in town. People are changing. The patterns are spreading through the water system, through power lines. Whatever this is, it's using our infrastructure to propagate." Just like they used the cave systems, Marcus realizes. Natural networks, artificial networks, they're all just conduits for their signal. His tactical feed shows chaos erupting throughout Pine Valley. The geometric patterns now cover entire buildings, transforming concrete and steel into that same crystalline living architecture. Citizens who haven't been evacuated are either fleeing or joining the pattern. "Mark," Amy's voice crackles through static. "The files... There's a third option. Anderson found something in the old mining records. A way to redirect the emergence, but it requires... The transmission cuts off as another wave of interference blankets the area. The pressure in Marcus's mind intensifies as the crystalline resonance reaches new frequencies. Through the haze of psychic static, he remembers Johnson's last moments in Afghanistan, not the horror of his transformation, but the look of perfect clarity on his face as he touched the patterns. "They offer understanding," Switchblade says, reading Marcus's expression. The geometric designs now cover most of his visible skin, making him look more like a living circuit board than a human being. Not just of their nature, but of everything. The fundamental patterns underlying reality itself. Danny's voice breaks through. "Mark, Amy's right. The mining company found something in 1947. A chamber different from the others. Natural crystalline formations that seem to interfere with the patterns. They buried the discovery because every time they tried to study it, people went mad from some kind of cognitive dissonance." Marcus checks his tactical map. The old mining complex spans miles of underground tunnels, but that particular chamber would be... His thoughts are interrupted as the ground heaves violently. New cracks appear, glowing with that impossible light as more of the pattern emerges. From below, "Time's up," Hammer announces. The tablet in his hands shows heat signatures moving through the tunnel network, but they're not human anymore. Their forms shift and flow like liquid geometry. The emergence can't be stopped now. It can only be guided or contained. Choose. Linda's intelligence training cuts through the growing chaos. "Mark, think, why did they really destroy your truck? Why orchestrate this whole scenario? There has to be a reason they need you specifically to make this choice." The answer hits Marcus like a physical blow. "Because I didn't just resist the change in Afghanistan," he says. "I understood it, saw the pattern for what it really was, not a bridge between realities, but a rewrite." Amy's voice returns, stronger now. "The files confirm it. These entities aren't building a bridge. They're trying to reshape our reality to match theirs, but they need consensus, need willing participation from subjects who truly understand their nature," Marcus finishes. The pressure in his mind crescendos as the truth becomes clear. Johnson and Martinez didn't just accept the change, they recognized the pattern. And now you have to choose, Switchblade says. The patterns on his skin pulse faster, more urgently. Guide them, contain them, or redirect them, Marcus decides. His tactical training kicks in as he formulates a plan. "Danny, I need those coordinates." Linda, get to the secondary resonator control station, and Amy, Asuka, I need everything you found about that 1947 chamber. Mark, wait, Linda warns. If those crystals caused cognitive dissonance just from proximity, what happens if you try to use them against this? The geometric patterns reach the mining complex's main building, transforming metal and glass into flowing crystalline architecture. Through his scope, Marcus watches more vertex operators join the pattern, their forms becoming increasingly abstract, increasingly impossible. Anderson found a way, he says, checking his gear. That's why they killed him. Not to stop him from exposing their operation, but to prevent him from implementing his solution. The hard drive in Marcus's tactical vest suddenly feels heavier. Whatever Anderson discovered about that chamber, about the natural crystals that could disrupt these patterns, he died trying to use it. You'll doom them all, Hammer warns, his voice now barely human. The tablet falls from his transformed hands, shattering on rocks that have become living crystal. They offer transcendence, evolution beyond mere physical form. Why would you deny humanity its next step? Because it's not our step to take, Marcus answers. The crystalline resonance peaks again, and this time he recognizes it for what it is, not communication, but reprogramming, a fundamental rewrite of the rules governing reality itself. His radio crackles with urgent transmissions. Danny, chamber coordinates locked. But mark these readings. The crystalline formations are active, pulsing with some kind of counter-frequency. Linda, secondary control station secured. Ready to redirect power on your mark. Amy, Anderson's files decrypted. The crystals don't just disrupt their patterns, they reflect them, turn their own frequency back on itself. The ground trembles continuously now as the emergence accelerates. Through widening cracks, Marcus glimpses vast chambers below, filled with geometric shapes that shouldn't be possible in three-dimensional space. Last chance, Thompson, Switchblade says. His form begins to lose cohesion as the transformation progresses. Join the pattern, understand, transcend. But Marcus has seen this before. In those Afghan caves, he didn't just resist the change, he saw through it, recognized that transcendence without choice isn't evolution, it's erasure. I understand perfectly, he says, activating his radio. Linda, power to secondary resonators. On my mark. Danny, prepare to transmit the counter frequency. Amy, upload Anderson's calculations to the control system. The crystalline patterns surge toward him, reality itself seeming to bend in their wake. But Marcus Thompson didn't survive. 15 years as a ranger by backing down from impossible odds. His destroyed truck brought him into this fight, but his understanding of what's really at stake will see him through it. Because some patterns aren't meant to be completed, some bridges aren't meant to be crossed, and sometimes the only way to save reality is to show these entities exactly what human resistance really means. The night air fills with impossible geometries as Marcus begins his mission. What started with vandalism will end with a choice, not between acceptance and rejection, but between passive transcendence and active preservation of what makes us human in the first place. The real fight for Pine Valley is about to begin. If you're enjoying this intense story, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned. We've got more incredible content coming your way. Now, back to our story. The descent into Pine Valley's mining complex feels like entering another world. Marcus moves swiftly through tunnels that pulse with crystalline light, the geometric patterns flowing like liquid across surfaces that should be solid stone. His tactical gear, designed for human threats, seems inadequate against the impossible. Transformations surrounding him. Security systems compromised, Linda reports through his radio. The patterns are spreading through the electrical grid, converting the cameras into something else. Through the static, her voice carries a mix of awe and horror. They're not just watching anymore, they're learning. Marcus checks Anderson's coordinates again. The 1947 chamber lies deeper than the main mining operation, accessed through maintenance tunnels that predate modern record-keeping. As he moves, his tactical scope reveals heat signatures that defy normal physics, transformed vertex operators flowing through walls like living mercury. "Mark, we've got a problem." Danny's voice cuts through growing interference. "These counter-frequencies, from Anderson's files, they're not just disrupting the patterns, they're agitating them, making them more aggressive." Through a partially transformed ventilation shaft, Marcus glimpses what's happening above ground. Pine Valley's transformation accelerates as the geometric patterns spread like circuit boards across buildings, roads, and any citizens who haven't evacuated or succumbed. The night sky itself seems to bend where the patterns reach highest. "Thompson!" Hammer's voice echoes through the tunnels, but it's not coming from any human throat. The sound resonates with crystalline harmonics that make Marcus's teeth ache. "You don't understand what you're risking. The pattern must complete. The bridge must open." Movement ahead. Switchblade emerges from a wall like a liquid crystal statue wearing tactical gear. His form shifts constantly, geometric patterns flowing through what used to be flesh. "Last warning," he says, his voice carrying those same impossible harmonics. "The crystals you're seeking, they'll destroy everything, including you." Marcus responds with practiced efficiency, his ranger training adapting to this impossible threat. Flashbang grenades disorient even transformed opponents, giving him precious seconds to move past. But physical weapons feel increasingly useless as reality itself becomes more fluid. "Mark!" Amy's voice breaks through static. "Anderson's final notes." He found something else in that chamber. The crystals don't just reflect their patterns, they contain memories. Records of the last time these entities tried to emerge and how they were stopped. The tunnel ahead opens into a vast chamber filled with mining equipment now half transformed into crystalline structures. Marcus spots more transformed vertex operators moving with inhuman grace among the patterns, coordinating like nodes in some vast neural network. His radio crackles. "Primary resonators at 80% power," Linda reports, "ready to redirect on your mark." But Mark, the patterns above ground, they're starting to form some kind of structure, like they're building something big. A receiver, Marcus realizes, remembering Johnson's last coherent words in Afghanistan. They need a focal point to complete the transformation, to fully bridge realities. Through his tactical feed, he watches Pine Valley's geometric patterns align into larger configurations. Buildings, roads, even the mountain itself begins to form impossible angles that hurt to look at directly. "Mark." Danny's voice shows genuine fear now. "Amy found more files. That chamber you're heading for. The company didn't just discover it in 1947. They found evidence it had been used before. Ancient remains, transformed remains, all around those crystals. Whatever happened there was a previous attempt," Marcus finishes. The realization hits hard. This isn't the first time these entities tried to rewrite reality, and those crystals might be the only record of how they were stopped. The chamber's entrance lies ahead, its original mining supports now wrapped in pulsing geometric patterns. But something's wrong. The patterns here are different, more chaotic, like they're being disrupted by something inside. "You can feel it, can't you?" Hammer's voice resonates from everywhere and nowhere. His transformed form emerges from the patterns themselves, barely humanoid now. The cognitive dissonance, the fundamental wrongness of what those crystals represent. They're an aberration, Thompson, a mistake we need to correct. Marcus's tactical training kicks in as more transformed operators converge on his position. They move like liquid geometry, their forms shifting to flow through any gap, any weakness. But their coordinated attack pattern reveals something crucial. They're afraid of what's in that chamber. Linda, redirect power to secondary resonators now. The transformed operators hesitate as new frequencies fill the tunnels. Danny, begin. Encounter frequency transmission. Amy, upload Anderson's calculations to both systems. The effect is immediate and violent. The geometric patterns fluctuate wildly as competing frequencies clash. Transformed operators writhe as their borrowed forms become unstable. But the original patterns, the ones emerging from deep underground, only pulse stronger. Fool. Hammers. Voice carries genuine rage now. You'll trigger a resonance cascade. The pattern must complete cleanly or what? Marcus demands, pushing toward the chamber entrance. What are you really afraid of? What did these crystals show Anderson about your last attempt? The answer comes not in words, but in sensation. The pressure in Marcus's mind spikes as the entities communicate directly, showing him glimpses of previous emergences, previous failures, previous realities, rewritten and overwritten countless times. The crystals remember. Amy's voice barely cuts through overwhelming static. They hold echoes of everything, every attempt, every failure, every resistance, Marcus finishes. His destroyed truck, the Steel Wolves facade, even Operation Ghostwalker, all of it was orchestrated to prevent anyone from reaching these crystals. Because they don't just disrupt the patterns, they remember how to break them. The chamber entrance beckons, its interior glowing with a light different from the geometric patterns. Natural crystals pulse with their own frequency, not the harmonic resonance of the entities, but something older, something that remembers when reality was worth fighting for. Stop him! Hammer's command sends transformed operators flowing toward Marcus like a tide of living crystal. But they move with desperate fury now, their inhuman forms revealing very human fear, because Marcus Thompson finally understands the truth. His resistance in Afghanistan wasn't unique. His ability to see through the pattern wasn't special. He was just following in the footsteps of others who refused to let reality be rewritten. And as he fights his way toward those ancient crystals, toward the memory of previous resistances, Marcus knows one thing for certain. Sometimes the biggest threats to reality aren't the ones trying to change it. They're the ones trying to make us forget it was ever worth preserving in the first place. The real battle for Pine Valley, for reality itself, is about to begin. And it starts with remembering how it was won before. If you're enjoying this story of courage and determination, don't forget to subscribe. We put our heart into every story we tell. Now, let's continue with our thrilling tale. The crystal chamber defies everything Marcus thought he knew about reality. Natural formations jut from walls and ceiling, their surfaces unmarred by the geometric patterns trying to transform everything else. But it's not their appearance that stops him in his tracks. It's the memories they contain. They're screaming. Linda's voice wavers through his radio. Even from the control station, she can feel the crystal's effect. Not with sound, but with information, history, truth. Marcus moves deeper into the chamber, his tactical gear's sensors overwhelmed by readings that shouldn't be possible. Each crystal pulses with its own light, different from the geometric pattern's luminescence. This is older, more primal. The light of original reality asserting itself. Mark the files! Amy's transmission cuts through growing interference. Anderson didn't just find records of previous emergencies. He found proof that humanity has fought this battle before, multiple times. The crystals, they're like a collective memory of every resistance. The pressure in Marcus's mind changes. Instead of the entity's attempt at communication, he feels something else, fragments of memories not his own. Warriors, soldiers, ordinary people throughout history standing against the pattern's attempt to rewrite reality. You don't understand. What you're seeing? Hammer's transformed voice resonates through the chamber. His crystalline form flows through the entrance like liquid geometry, but he cannot approach the natural crystals directly. Those are fragments of failed realities, imperfect iterations that needed to be rewritten. No, Marcus counters, understanding, flowing from the crystals themselves. They're proof that reality isn't yours to rewrite, that humanity has chosen to resist before, just like we're choosing now. His radio crackles with urgent updates. Danny, counter frequencies at maximum power. The patterns above ground are becoming unstable. Linda, secondary resonators locked on crystal chamber harmonics. Ready to amplify? Amy, Mark, these memories, they're not just showing previous resistance, they're showing how to weaponize the crystals themselves. Through his tactical feed, Marcus watches Pine Valley's transformation reach a critical point. The geometric patterns form impossible structures that stretch toward a sky that's beginning to bend and fold like origami. Reality itself groans under the strain of competing frequencies. You've already lost. Switchblade's transformed voice joins Hammer's as more liquid crystal forms pour into the chamber. The pattern is too far progressed. Reality will be rewritten. Evolution cannot be stopped. But Marcus isn't listening to them anymore. The crystals show him the truth. This isn't evolution, it's assimilation. The entities don't want to bridge realities. They want to overwrite ours with theirs, and they've been trying for longer than humanity can remember. Linda, full power to all resonators. Danny, transmit the crystal frequencies at maximum amplitude. Marcus pulls Anderson's hard drive from his tactical vest, understanding now why the sheriff died protecting it. Amy, upload Anderson's final protocol, the one he died trying to implement. The effect is instantaneous and catastrophic. The crystal chamber's natural formations pulse with blinding light as their ancient frequencies are amplified through modern technology. The transformed operators writhe as their borrowed forms begin to destabilize. Stop! Hammer's voice carries genuine fear now. His liquid crystal form tries to retreat, but finds itself caught between competing resonances. You'll tear reality itself apart. No, Marcus says, the crystal's memories flowing through him. We'll tear your pattern apart, just like others did before. Just like humanity always chooses to do when faced with extinction disguised as transcendence. The chamber becomes a battlefield of light and frequency. Natural crystals pulse with the memory of countless resistances, while geometric patterns try desperately to maintain their hold on transformed matter. Reality itself seems to flicker between states of being. Mark! Danny's voice barely cuts through overwhelming interference. The pattern above ground, it's starting to break down. But the entities, they're trying something else, something desperate. Through his tactical feed, Marcus watches Pine Valley's transformed structures begin to collapse. But the geometric patterns don't disappear. They coalesce, flowing together like mercury to form something new, something final. The receiver, he realizes, remembering Johnson's last warning. They're forcing it to manifest, trying to complete the bridge before their pattern breaks down completely. Hammer's transformed form stabilizes momentarily, geometric patterns swirling into a rough approximation of his human face. You think your resistance matters? Your understanding is limited to 3 dimensions, to linear time. We exist in all possibilities simultaneously. Even if you break this pattern, we will simply try again and again, until reality itself surrenders to transformation. But the crystals show Marcus something else. Each resistance doesn't just stop an emergence. It strengthens reality's immune system against future attempts. Every time humanity chooses to fight back, the pattern becomes harder to implement. The bridge becomes harder to build. Linda, prepare for resonance cascade. Danny, calculate crystal harmonics for maximum amplitude. Amy, transmit Anderson's final calculations to all systems. The chamber fills with impossible light, as natural. Crystals and geometric patterns clash at fundamental frequencies. Marcus feels reality itself shuddering as competing forces battle for dominance. His radio dissolves into pure static as conventional electronics fail under the strain. But through it all, through the chaos of failing reality and desperate entities and ancient memories, Marcus remembers why this fight started. His destroyed truck wasn't just bait. It was a reminder, a symbol of what the entities want to transform, to erase, to rewrite. Everything human, everything imperfect, everything real. The final battle for Pine Valley reaches its crescendo as reality itself hangs in the balance. And in that crystal chamber, surrounded by the memories of countless previous resistances, Marcus Thompson prepares to make his final stand. Because sometimes the only way to save reality is to remind it how many times it has been saved before. How many times humanity has chosen imperfect freedom over perfect transformation. How many times we've looked into the pattern and said, no, this reality is ours and it's worth fighting for. Before we dive back into this intense story, take a moment to subscribe if you're enjoying it. Your support helps us create more thrilling content like this. Now let's continue. The resonance cascade tears through Pine Valley like a tsunami of pure frequency. Reality itself buckles as natural crystal harmonics clash with the geometric pattern's alien frequencies. From his position in the chamber, Marcus watches transformed matter tear itself apart as competing forces battle for dominance. The pattern is breaking down. Danny's voice somehow cuts through the chaos. But Mark, the receiver, it's not just growing anymore, it's changing. Through his tactical feed, Marcus sees Pine Valley's transformed structures collapse and flow together. The geometric patterns abandon their attempt to rewrite reality piece by piece, instead focusing all their energy on a single point. A final, desperate gambit to force the bridge open before their pattern fails completely. You still don't understand. Hammer's transformed form struggles to maintain cohesion as crystal frequencies tear at his borrowed shape. Breaking this pattern won't save you. The receiver, it's already connected, already calling. Them. The pressure in Marcus's mind spikes as the entities communicate directly, showing him what's really happening. The receiver isn't just a bridge, it's a beacon. A signal to others of their kind, waiting in realities beyond human comprehension. Mark! Linda's transmission barely penetrates the growing interference. Power readings are off the scale. The resonators can't handle this level of output much longer. Keep them running, Marcus orders, pushing deeper into the crystal chamber. No matter what happens, don't shut them down. The natural crystals pulse with increasing intensity, their ancient memories flowing faster now. Marcus sees glimpses of previous emergences, previous receivers, previous moments when reality hung in the balance. But something's different this time. The pattern is stronger, more desperate, more afraid. Found something in Anderson's final notes. Amy's voice fights through static. The sheriff discovered why they chose Pine Valley, why they needed specific properties, specific access points, the cave system. It's not random, it's built over. Over a nexus point, Marcus finishes, the crystals showing him the truth. A place where reality is naturally thin, where bridges between dimensions are easier to build. Through gaps in the chamber ceiling, he watches Pine Valley's receiver take final form. Geometric patterns swirl into a structure that shouldn't be possible in three-dimensional space. A tower of living crystal that bends light and gravity around itself. Full power to all systems, Linda reports. Crystal harmonics at maximum. Amplitude. The chamber becomes a war zone of competing frequencies. Transformed operators dissolve as their borrowed forms fail. Geometric patterns shattering under the strain. But Hammer's liquid crystal shape holds together through sheer will. Even if you stop us, his transformed voice resonates with increasing desperation. The beacon is lit, the signal is sent, others will come, the pattern will continue until humanity stops you again. Marcus counters, understanding flowing from the ancient crystals. That's what really scares you, isn't it? Not that we resist, but that we keep choosing to resist. Keep choosing this reality over your promised transcendence. His tactical feed shows chaos above ground. The receiver pulses with impossible energy as geometric patterns pour their remaining power into its completion. Reality itself seems to thin around its peak, creating distortions visible to the naked eye. Mark, Danny's voice carries genuine fear. These readings, something's coming through the bridge. It's starting to open. Through the crystal's memories, Marcus sees the truth about Operation Ghostwalker. His team wasn't just exploring caves in Afghanistan, they were witnessing the entity's previous attempt to build a receiver, and the reason he resisted the pattern wasn't unique ability or special training. It was simple human choice. The same choice humanity has made every time these entities try to rewrite our reality. Linda, prepare for full resonance cascade. Danny, calculate harmonic convergence point. Amy, transmit Anderson's final protocol to all systems simultaneously. The chamber's natural crystals reach critical amplitude as their ancient frequencies combine with modern technology. Marcus feels reality itself vibrate as powers beyond human comprehension clash for dominance. You can't stop evolution! Hammer's desperate voice rises over the chaos. His transformed form begins to lose cohesion as crystal harmonics tear at his borrowed substance. The pattern must complete, the bridge must open. But the ancient crystals show Marcus something else. This isn't evolution, it's invasion. The entities don't want to help humanity transcend. They want to overwrite everything that makes us human. Every imperfection, every choice, every moment of beautiful chaos that their perfect pattern can't comprehend. Through his tactical feed, he watches the receiver's impossible geometry reach toward a sky that's beginning to tear. The geometric patterns pour their remaining energy into this final attempt, desperate to complete their bridge before the resonance cascade tears their pattern apart completely. Mark. Amy's voice barely penetrates overwhelming interference. Anderson's final protocol. It's not just about stopping them. It's about making sure they can't try again. Not here, not ever. The crystals pulse with ancient memories, showing Marcus the price of previous victories. Each resistance strengthened reality against future attempts, but at a cost. The nexus points, the thin places where bridges could be built, they had to be closed permanently. You'll destroy everything. Hammer's transformed voice carries genuine fear now. The resonance cascade. It won't just break our pattern, it'll collapse the entire nexus point. Better collapsed than compromised, Marcus answers, understanding the true purpose of Anderson's sacrifice. Better broken than overwritten. His radio dissolves into pure static as conventional electronics fail under reality's mounting stress. The chamber's natural crystals reach frequencies that shouldn't be possible as geometric patterns shatter under their ancient resonance. Above ground, Pine Valley's receiver pulses with final desperate energy. The bridge between realities starts to open as the entities make their last attempt to force transcendence on an unwilling world. But in that crystal chamber, surrounded by the memories of countless previous resistances, Marcus Thompson prepares to do what humanity has always done when faced with perfect patterns that promise to erase everything real, everything human, everything worth fighting for. He prepares to break reality itself, to collapse Pine Valley's nexus point, to ensure that this particular pattern can never try to rewrite this particular place again. Because sometimes the only way to save reality is to change it yourself. Not through alien patterns or forced transcendence, but through the very human choice to fight for what's real, what's imperfect, what's ours. The final battle for Pine Valley reaches its devastating climax as Marcus initiates Anderson's ultimate protocol, and in that moment of crystal harmonics and shattering patterns and collapsing reality, one truth becomes clear. Some bridges aren't meant to be built, some patterns aren't meant to complete, and some choices are worth any cost, even if that cost is reality itself. This story took us countless hours to create. If you're enjoying it, please hit subscribe. It really means the world to us. Now back to our incredible tale. Reality breaks in stages. Marcus feels it happening as Anderson's final protocol tears through Pine Valley's nexus point. The chamber's natural crystals pulse with frequencies that shouldn't be possible. Their ancient harmonics amplified by modern technology to catastrophic levels. Mark! Linda's voice somehow cuts through devastating interference. The resonators are overloading. We're seeing cascade effects throughout the grid. The whole town's power system is... The transmission cuts off as another wave of crystal. Harmonic shatters conventional electronics. Through his failing tactical feed, Marcus watches Pine Valley tear itself apart at the quantum level. The receiver's impossible geometry starts to collapse as geometric patterns lose their hold on. Transform matter. You don't know what you're doing. Hammer's liquid crystal form struggles to maintain cohesion. The nexus point. It doesn't just connect realities, it helps maintain them. Breaking it will ensure you can never use it again. Marcus finishes, understanding flowing from the ancient crystals. Each pulse shows him more memories, more fragments of previous resistances. The price of victory always included sacrifice, burning bridges by burning reality itself. His tactical scope captures the receiver's final moments. The geometric pattern's desperate attempt to force a bridge between dimensions fails as crystal harmonics tear apart their fundamental frequency. The structure that shouldn't exist in three-dimensional space begins to fold in on itself, creating distortions visible to the naked eye. Found more of Anderson's notes. Amy's voice barely penetrates the chaos. The sheriff knew what closing the nexus point would cost, knew that saving Pine Valley meant changing it forever, making it somewhere the pattern could never take hold again. The chamber shudders as reality's fundamental forces clash. Natural crystals pulse with the memory of every previous resistance, while geometric patterns shatter under their ancient resonance. Marcus feels the pressure in his mind spike as the entities make one last attempt at communication. They show him visions of what could be, perfect patterns, transcendent existence, evolution beyond mere physical form. But the crystals show him something else, the cost of that perfection, the erasure of everything chaotic, everything human, everything real. Mark, Danny's transmission fights through growing interference. The readings, the whole quantum structure of Pine Valley is becoming unstable. If we don't stop the cascade soon, we don't stop it, Marcus orders, understanding Anderson's true plan. We let it finish. Let it break everything they could use to build their bridge. Better a broken reality than an overwritten one. Through gaps in the chamber ceiling, he watches Pine Valley's transformation reverse itself. Buildings and streets that had been converted to living crystal begin to shatter and collapse. The geometric patterns lose their hold on physical matter as crystal harmonics tear apart their fundamental frequency. The pattern, Hammer's voice carries genuine anguish as his borrowed form begins to dissolve. You're not just breaking it, you're making it impossible to re-establish, creating quantum interference that will last forever, Marcus confirms. The ancient crystals pulse with certainty as they show him the truth. This is how humanity has always won, not by simply stopping the pattern, but by making certain places permanently resistant to it, by burning bridges so thoroughly they can never be rebuilt. His tactical feed captures the receiver's final collapse. The impossible structure folds through dimensions that shouldn't exist, its geometric patterns shattering under overwhelming crystal harmonics. The bridge between realities fails catastrophically, creating distortions that tear at the fabric of space-time itself. Mark! Linda's last transmission barely penetrates the chaos. The resonance cascade. It's reaching critical mass. The whole nexus point is about to... The chamber fills with impossible light as natural crystals reach frequencies that shouldn't exist. Marcus feels reality itself vibrate as competing forces finally tear Pine Valley's quantum structure apart. The geometric patterns last desperate. Attempt at transformation fails as everything they tried to convert breaks at the fundamental level. You've doomed them all. Hammer's dissolving form manages one final accusation. The town, the people, everything. Reality itself won't work properly here anymore. Nothing will ever be quite human, Marcus suggests, understanding flowing from the ancient crystals. That's the point. Better beautifully broken than perfectly overwritten. Better real than transcendent. The resonance cascade reaches its peak as Anderson's final protocol completes. Marcus feels Pine Valley's nexus point collapse, taking with it the entity's last chance to establish their pattern in this reality. The price of victory becomes clear as fundamental forces tear apart everything the geometric patterns touched. But through the chaos of failing reality and shattering patterns and ancient crystal harmonics, Marcus remembers why this fight started. His destroyed truck, the Steel Wolves facade, Operation Ghostwalker. It was all leading to this moment. This choice, the choice humanity has always made when faced with perfect patterns that promise transcendence but deliver erasure. The choice to remain beautifully, chaotically, imperfectly human. The chamber's natural crystals pulse one last time, showing Marcus fragments of what's to come. Pine Valley will survive, but changed. Reality itself will work differently here. Quantum interference, making it impossible for the entity's pattern to ever take hold again. Streets will bend at angles that shouldn't be possible. Light will refract in ways that defy physics. Time itself might flow strangely in certain places. But it will all be real, all be human, all be ours. Through his failing tactical feed, Marcus watches the last geometric patterns shatter. The entity's final attempt to rewrite reality fails as crystal harmonics tear apart everything they tried to transform. Pine Valley's quantum structure breaks and reforms into something new, something permanently resistant to their perfect pattern. Because sometimes saving reality means changing it yourself. Not through alien frequencies or forced evolution, but through the very human choice to fight for what's real, what's imperfect, what's ours. The resonance cascade tears through Pine Valley's nexus point, ensuring that this particular corner of reality can never be used to build bridges between dimensions again. And in that moment of shattering patterns and failing physics and ancient crystal memories, Marcus Thompson understands the true cost of victory. Some places must be broken to remain free. Some realities must be changed to stay human. And some Choices echo through dimensions, reminding entities that perfect patterns will always fail against imperfect freedom. The final battle for Pine Valley reaches its reality-shattering conclusion as Marcus Thompson helps humanity make that choice one more time. The choice to remain beautifully, catastrophically, impossibly real. If this story touched you, make sure you're subscribed because we've got more incredible content coming your way. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. Dawn breaks differently over Pine Valley now. 3 months after the resonance cascade, Marcus Thompson stands on his front porch, watching light refract in ways that shouldn't be possible. The town survived, but changed. Reality works strangely here now, a permanent reminder of the price paid to remain free. Still getting used to it. Linda asks, bringing coffee from the newly rebuilt Riverside Diner. The streets between their locations bend at subtle angles that seem to shift when not viewed directly. Amy's latest article calls us America's Quantum Town, says tourist. Numbers are up, even if half of them leave with headaches. Marcus observes the morning traffic navigating roads that occasionally intersect with themselves. The resonance cascade left Pine Valley permanently altered at the quantum level, creating interference patterns that make it impossible for the entity's geometric patterns to ever take hold again. "Any word from Danny?" he asks, though he knows monitoring communications through Pine Valley's distorted space-time can be tricky. "Still working with the university research team," Linda replies. "They're fascinated by the effects on electronic equipment. Apparently, our quantum interference makes certain types of encryption unbreakable. The NSA's very interested." His phone, specially modified to work in Pine Valley's altered reality, buzzes with a message from Amy. "More files decoded from Anderson's drive. You need to see these. There are other towns, other places where reality was changed to stop them. We're not alone." Marcus studies his rebuilt Mustang, restored but somehow different. Like everything else in Pine Valley, it exists slightly out of phase with normal reality. The Steel Wolf's vandalism feels like a lifetime ago, back when reality still followed predictable rules. "Mark!" Doc Williams calls from across the street, his medical clinic now specializing in what he calls quantum adaptation syndrome. "Got those readings you wanted. The distortions are stable, different but stable. Whatever you and Anderson did, it's permanent." Through his tactical scope, recalibrated for Pine Valley's new physics, Marcus watches reality ripple in ways visible only through specialized equipment. The town exists in a quantum state that makes it impossible for the entity's perfect pattern to establish itself. The price of freedom, written in broken physics and impossible geometry. "They're still out there," Linda observes, her intelligence training adapting to new kinds of surveillance. Vertex, the transformed operators. Whatever's left of the steel. Wolves, looking for other nexus points, other places to try their pattern. "Let them look," Marcus responds. His truck's destruction led him to discover a war humanity has been fighting longer than anyone remembers. A war won not through force or technology, but through the willingness to change reality itself rather than surrender it. His radio crackles. Quantum interference makes normal communications unpredictable, but some frequencies still work. Danny's voice cuts through static. "Mark, you need to see this. Found more coordinates in Anderson's files. Other towns, other nexus points, places where the pattern might try again. Send them to Linda," Marcus instructs. "We'll need intelligence before we move. The war isn't over. The entities will keep trying to establish their pattern to build bridges between realities, to force transcendence on an unwilling world. But now they face a new kind of resistance. People who understand that some places must be broken to remain free. That reality itself can be changed to prevent perfect patterns from overwriting what makes us human. A new convoy approaches Pine Valley's quantum boundary, government vehicles carrying more researchers, more equipment, more attempts to understand what the town has become. Marcus watches them navigate the subtle distortions that mark the edge of altered reality. Think they'll ever understand? Linda asks. What really happened here? What it means? They don't need to understand, Marcus answers. The ancient crystals showed him truth beyond mere understanding. They just need to remember. Remember that humanity chose this, chose to break reality rather than surrender it. His phone shows more messages. Amy, more towns reaching out. They've got similar quantum signatures, different times, different places, same choice. Danny, university teams identified another potential nexus point. Signs of geometric patterns already emerging. Doc, quantum adaptation protocols working, helping other towns prepare for what changing reality really means. Pine Valley has become more than just a town. It's a testament to human choice, the choice to remain beautifully, catastrophically real. Its broken physics and impossible geometry stand as proof that perfect patterns will always fail against imperfect freedom. Marcus checks his gear, ready for the next mission. Because the war continues. The entities will keep trying to establish their pattern, to bridge realities, to force evolution on their terms. But now humanity knows the truth, knows that reality itself can be changed to prevent transcendence from becoming erasure. His destroyed truck brought him into this fight. Pine Valley's transformation showed him what victory costs. And now, as he prepares to help other towns make the same impossible choice, Marcus Thompson understands what his Rangers training was really preparing him for. Not just to fight for reality, but to break it when breaking it is the only way to keep it truly ours. Ready? Linda asks, her intelligence background proving invaluable in this new kind of war. Marcus takes a final look at Pine Valley, at streets that bend strangely, at light that refracts impossibly, at reality permanently changed to remain permanently free. Ready, he confirms. Let's go help the next town make their choice. Because some wars are fought not with weapons, but with choices. Some victories require sacrificing normal to preserve real, and some stories don't end just because reality changes. They evolve, like Pine Valley itself, into something beautiful and broken and perfectly human. Up next, you've got two more incredible stories waiting for you right on your screen. If this tale of sacrifice and determination touched you, you won't want to miss what's coming. Just click to watch, and don't forget to subscribe for more content that pushes the boundaries of storytelling itself.